We're glad to have you back now. Micro, small, and medium enterprises are businesses that operate on a relatively smaller scale compared to large corporations. These enterprises encompass a wide array of sectors from manufacturing, agriculture, technology, and services. Their distinguishing features include limited manpower, low capital investment, and localized operations. MSMEs often function as the catalyst for economic inclusivity as they provide jobs to a significant portion of the population. MSMEs constitute 95 to 98% of all businesses, generating 50% of GDP and create between 60 to 70% of all jobs. Understanding the nuances of private sector development in emerging economies is pivotal for sustainable growth. Government, international organizations, and private sector itself need to collaborate to create an enabling environment for MSMEs to thrive. My guest is Mr. Peter Adebayo, Chartered Accountant, Lead Consultant, 2612 Consulting and Professional Services. He joins me via Zoom for this conversation. Mr. Adebayo, thank you so much. Let's go straight to the conversation. Time is already well spent. What do you make of the position of MSMEs in Nigeria, and how well are they contributing to economic development?
Thank you very much, Tolu, for having me once again. I want to say well done for doing a good job like you have always done with your team members. Yeah. Briefly, talking about MSMEs as an acronym, it usually refers to micro, small enterprises. And of course, the definition has a Nigerian standard, as expressed by SMEDAM and the National Bureau of Statistics, meaning that these are classes of businesses that operate on a very small and medium scale, and they are usually characterized by some factors, which, among others, include the fact that they are very limited in capital. So when it comes to investment, they are not as strong as the very big or large organizations. In terms of workforce, they also are very small. They maintain a very small or narrow workforce. They are very local in terms of market. And when you talk about ownership, when you talk about operations, the operations are basically managed by the owners of the business. Well, like I mentioned SMEDAM and I mentioned the MBS. Apart from the way the Finance Act has classified small businesses in Nigeria, SMEDAM and MBS, they've classified it into categories, in which case, if you have employees ranging between 1 to 9, you are seen as a micro enterprise. And if your asset base is less than 5 million and your annual turnover is also less than 5 million, you are classified as micro. But where you have at least between 10 and 49 members of employees with about at least 5 million to 50 million asset base, with turnover ranging from 5 million to 50 million, you're also classified as a small scale enterprise. However, if your employees have at least about 15 number up to like 199, and if your asset base is at least 50 million, I think 50 million to 500 million, in terms of asset base, you are seen as a medium-sized organization. Of course, in terms of turnover, your turnover will not be less than 50 million, and it can go as much as 500 million. So that is MSME for you, and the classes as far as SMEDA and Nigerian Bureau of Statistics definitions are concerned.
Indeed, but would you say they are playing their role in an economy like Nigeria? Many would tell you that government cannot create all the jobs. Small businesses employing 5–10%. When you multiply it by the number of available MSMEs, you will know that these jobs really come from these small businesses. Do they have that enabling environment to create this necessary jobs?
As a matter of fact, Tolu, you have just preempted me because that is like asking what are the challenges that the MSMEs in Nigeria are facing. I mean, the challenges are numerous, and I can tell you we can do better than we are doing as far as this sector is concerned, because a major challenge they have is their limitation in terms of access, to finance. They have limited access to loan facilities because of the high interest rate, which their business income may not be able to sustain, collateral requirements and the likes. And again, a major challenge that befalls that sector is the issue of infrastructure, which we are hoping and praying that someday soon, we will get over, even though improvements are being recorded right now. Power supply, transportation barriers, and of course, internet connectivity is still there. And again, when you look at the regulatory environment, with the issue of multiple taxes, thank God that there is a reform that is ongoing now. With the issue of multiple taxes, it's bureaucracy, all these bureaucracies, bottleneck, inconsistent policies. These are some of the challenges within the regulatory environment. And of course, major access, market access. You'll agree with me that this sector, they are encountering a lot of difficulty in accessing larger markets, or supply chain, as I want to put it. And when you look at it in terms of skills, in terms of capacity, in that sector, there's still lack of business management and financial literacy that is very predominant. And again, I mentioned technology. When you look at technology, there's limitation of access, to modern tools because they have low capacity in that area. Automation is an essential part of business growth, and that requires a lot of funding. E-commerce is also there. So these are some of the issues. And when you look at the economy, instability is a major barrier. The inflation. The first speaker was just talking. I remember you are trying to ask him questions around inflation. And now the inflation, which is about 18%, that is dropping gradually. So you can imagine, 18% inflation in an economy like Nigeria. How are they going to survive all this small and medium scale? So inflation is a barrier. Then currency depreciation is also a barrier. And when you look at policy uncertainty, among others, these are some of the challenges that are contending with the growth and development of SMEs as far as Nigeria is concerned.
So in your thoughts now, let's try and offer some solutions where we raise the challenges. Let's talk about possible solutions now. What can be done to address the challenges of these small businesses, as much as we acknowledge the fact that they play a very important role in economic growth and development? How do we help them to continue to, expand?
Well, sincerely speaking, Tolu, government has been doing a lot, and I think we can do more, because there is no way government will not have to support this sector for it to really grow and develop, to contribute immensely to our economy. There is need for government intervention. There is need for government support consistently. There is need for institutional support, right, to boost the development through constructive and progressive policies that can aid development of that sector. All right. SMEDAN is there. Bank of Industry is there, offering funding. And I believe that if we can intensify more effectiveness in these areas, the sector will thrive more. And when you look at CBN 2, you are aware that there are a number of intervention funds, which have been put in place for these MSCs to be able to access development funds, anchor borrowers programs, and the likes. And of course, the development banks of Nigeria, they can also do better in terms of long-term financing of these MSMEs. And even the microfinance banks, they have their role to play. And outside of that, we need to just also encourage participation in that sector, because a lot of people are discouraged because they feel that, look, coming to that sector is very difficult. So with enabling environment put in place through effective ease of doing business in Nigeria, I have no doubt that that thrive would, that sector would do better and continue to contribute immensely, being an engine, of economy. Because you'll agree with me that MSME, it's like the engine, it's like the hub of economic development. Because in any nation, you find that MSME operations will probably account for between 70 and 80%, because government definitely cannot provide employment that will take care of the economic development and growth.
Finally, before I let you go, and I think we must have this conversation again, or a flip side of this conversation. Many would say sometimes it's not all about funding. Some MSMEs, some might not have bankable projects, and maybe that's why they have challenges with getting funding. What do you also make of that?
Well, you see, I agree with you that it's not challenge. The funding is not the challenge, because going into business, there are a lot of people who have the monies to go into businesses, but the wherewithal, the basic requirements that they require, that they need to excel, they are not there. And I think the future of MSc in Nigeria, beyond funding, you will agree with me that technology plays a role. So as long as the entrepreneurs, the young upcoming ones who are trying to come into the sector, they can also embrace as much as possible digital transformation, fintech, e-commerce, remote work, in creating the opportunities. I want to believe that that sector will thrive. And again, a young entrepreneur, let me just say younger entrepreneurs, they also need to be encouraged to drive innovation through tech-based startups. And I want to believe that with proper support and good governance, MSMEs can actually power Nigeria's economic diversification and job creation, particularly in the non-oil sector. Now that we're advocating for more participation in the non-oil sector of Nigerian economy.
Mr. Peter Adebayo, that's our time today. I must thank you so much for your time, for your patience, and all of the traffic and all. But just take care of yourself and get back to the mainland in one piece. Mr. Peter Adebayo is a chartered accountant and is a lead consultant at 2612 Consulting and Professional Services. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your time on the program.
Thank you very much, Tolu.
Well, let's do markets now as we wrap up the week. And Effiong Gekop is already live in the studio. Effiong, we are wrapping the week up, still in positive.